If you struggle with shyness or social anxiety, check out our free No BS training course with actual useful advice you can do from home. None of that just get out there nonsense. The link is in the description below. For now, let's get to today's question.
On social anxiety and breaking into that conversation circle, The Onion just posted this hilarious piece entitled "Man Trying to Enter Conversation Spends Few Minutes Smiling and Nodding at Edge of Circle." It reminded me of how, last weekend, I attended a conference where I literally knew 3 people. One was someone I had only spoken to on Twitter, and the other 2 were organizers, which means they'd be understandably busy, so I didn't expect much face time. I really loved the idea of the conference, but I began to feel very queasy on my flight over, because I dreaded the nudge smile dance. If you have been to any social gathering where you do not know anyone, then you are well familiar with the nudge smile dance. It is what you do when there is a group of strangers chatting and you would like to join them. You shuffle over, sizing up the body language, and stand just outside whomever in the circle you think might be kind enough to open some space for you. You lean in, hoping for some sort of response from the group. Sometimes, there is none. They just flat out ignore you. Or, they all look at you dead-eyed, and then squeeze in a little tighter. Or, they make an excuse to move somewhere else. And then you pick your ego up off the floor and go to another circle. Or you stand in the corner and check your smartphone, my favorite tactic. But if for whatever reason it clicks, you begin the nudge smile. You nudge in slowly, but surely into the circle, all while smiling, reminding everyone you are super friendly and not going to ruin this conversation. Oh God, please trust me that I'm worth the circle. Nudge, smile. Nudge, smile. I do not like the nudge smile dance. As I get older, the more I own the social anxiety that I have. I'm no longer young enough to be soothed by the idea that overcoming it is some sort of bravery, because I also don't buy into my social anxiety as some sort of moral or personal failure. But at the same time, there has to be some way for us to facilitate conversations. There have definitely been times when I am inside the circle and have had to signal to people that the circle is closed. Often, it has nothing to do with the person, but rather the conversation only makes sense within that specific combination of people already in the circle. It might even be a timing thing, like, if that person returned in 5 minutes, it would be totally fine to join. So, as an engineer, I started thinking about alternatives. Now, let me just say up front that these are just thought exercises. I don't necessarily think that they are doable, and I am fully aware they could introduce new problems, but I do want to challenge the existing processes and get us to reflect on how we could improve things for people. I am not one to believe that just because something has always been done in a way that it makes the most sense. We've always flagged taxis on the street, hoping they happen upon us, yet that wasn't very efficient for the drivers nor for us, was it? And as someone who has planned major events, it is part of my objective really to get random people to meet, to get some cross-pollination and not just let people settle into familiar groups. People who might criticize this as thinking too much have obviously never run an event, or a dinner party, even, and realize that there is plenty of thinking that goes into something that feels intuitive. So here are 2 ideas on how we might make this process better. What if we take our cues from restaurants? What if we had open circle and closed circle sections in the same way restaurants used to do smoking and non-smoking sections? The communal space would be subtly divided, and where your group stood indicated its willingness to have outsiders join. The benefit of this is that it non-verbally signals how a group is feeling and manages the expectations of people outside the group to know ahead of time. This isn't to say that the groups must abide by the sections. Obviously, if you are friends with the group, you can just join in. But it also sets the stage for someone saying, "Sorry, this is a closed circle now." And should things change, the group could just move to the other side. Yes, moving a group geographically can seem odd and fussy, but we do that anyway between rooms or tables or whatnot to change conversation dynamics. I am simply applying this to standing groups as well. Now, this could be problematic, in that every circle might move to the closed circle section and give a very chilly feeling to the room. But I think if I saw that, I'd probably move my group over, to counteract it. It's kind of powerful to be able to see what's happening, too. Think of traffic lights. Gay men used to use the hanky code, a system of signals that through the placement of colored handkerchiefs alerted other men as to their sexual desires. That's changed now. Instead, everyone wears a costume of what they are into. But what if we drew on this for social gatherings? No, nobody is going to let people know they are a kinky top. Well, But what if there was a traffic lights-based system that let folks know what they were into communication-wise? Green means yes, come and talk to me. Yellow means why not? But I might say no. And red means this is not the time to approach me. Again, I get doubtful, because I wonder if this is too fussy, but we are just making explicit what we are trying to say through body language and facial expressions. We could combine these two ideas to create a room with red, yellow, and green sections. I think in a way we do this anyhow, but for some of us with problems reading social cues, being a little more explicit would save us some extra heart palpitations. Anytime a process is suggested, it's important to ask if it makes any sense and if it is just work for work's sake. I'm not sure this is a case of that. Yes, I wish we could be like children again, fearless in our ability to walk up to strange groups and hope to get accepted. Although even this seems like a simplification, and getting rejected back then felt so personal except for the most good-natured among us, but at the same time as adults we realize that social situations can be much more complicated and nuanced than just asking other kids to play in a sandbox. It's probably time for a rethink of how we mingle at social events.